What up, everybody? My name is Alana Treppler, and this is the ATD Show. At Above the Dog Studio today, I have Chris Schad with Sewer-Oscopy.
Correct.
Right on. Well, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Right on. Okay, so what is a sewer-oscopy?
That's a very good question. So in every home in commercial building, there is something called a sewer lateral pipe. This is where all your sink water goes and your shower water and your toilet water.
Okay.
And one of the things I thought was entertaining, like a colonoscopy, you can put a camera into that system and you can inspect it and see what kind of conditions that it is in. So, Sewer-Oscopy.
Right on.
There you go.
So you're a doctor.
I'm a house
doctor. You're a
doctor.
lateral, what is it called?
Sewer lateral.
You're a sewer lateral doctor.
Doctor.
Right on.
That is correct.
All right, so what does a sewer lateral doctor do?
Anytime you're involved in a real estate transaction, it's really good to have this system inspected. Depending on the age of the home, where it's at, how many trees you might have in the yard.
Oh, of course.
There's some variables there that if the system's performing, you'll never know about it. The minute it misbehaves, then it's really kind of an emergency, because in most cases your basement is going to back up with water, sometimes water and stuff. So it's really, it's kind of in stuff.
Okay.
So it's really important, to know the condition of it, know if it's flowing and performing as designed. I create reports with videos.
Okay.
So I try to get to the sewer main and narrate back through the system and just kind of talk you through it, tell you what I'm seeing, what should concern you, maybe make some recommendations, and then now you have kind of a history of the last time the pipe was examined.
Okay, so you primarily work with real estate agents on a buy or a sell of a home.
Correct. And they're home inspectors.
Home inspectors.
And they're home inspectors,
Okay,
correct.
of course. Yep. Very good. So tell me a story about a sewer-oscopy adventure.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I actually had one today. This one's kind of fun. So a good friend of mine, I work both sides of the river. So I was up in Wood River, Illinois today, and I was doing the inspection. I was pulling the camera back, and there was a Matchbox car.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
So, some small child flushed his or her Matchbox.
Yeah.
And they thought it was magically gone, and it was just laying in the sewer lateral. And I've seen a variety of things. Light bulbs. Light bulbs. Small ones, not big ones.
Right.
Christmas ornaments. Golf balls. So, you have to be cautious, because a lot of times the floor drain in the basement, the grate gets knocked off.
Okay.
And when a child sees that, it's just a hole in the concrete.
It makes
cool,
it disappear.
look at this, what I can do, right? And it's gone, magic,
Yeah.
It's not really gone, but, and it can create an obstruction. You have to be a little bit careful. But seen a variety of things, and it's just always kind of entertaining when I find something that I've never seen before.
Okay, so when you find a Matchbox car or you find a tree root or something like that in there, then what do you do?
That's a great question. So, a lot of times I'm representing the buyer in the transaction. So I'll make a recommendation to do a clean out and a reinspection. We carry the clean out equipment. So we carry some heavy cable equipment. We can do a cable clean out. We also have a hydrojetter, which is, pressurized water.
Okay.
So depending on what I'm seeing, if it's roots, I'll more than likely attack it with my cable. That has cutting heads on it.
Okay.
That can vary in size. So at the end of the day, we really want to just pulverize those roots.
Right.
I run a lot of water while I'm cutting, because I want to flush it out of the system.
Because if you just chop it up in one place, it's
just
going
to
to
sit there. Exactly,
right.
exactly. So we're always trying to introduce some water and get it flowing. And quite frankly, in today's environment, there's a lot of low flow stuff. All of our sinks are low flow. A lot of times our toilets only empty half the tank, right?
Okay.
And if you think about how we use our systems, one flush, one run of the garbage disposal is not going to send everything to the sewer main in one shot. It'll travel down the pipe and then it'll settle. If you do it enough, you can create an obstruction. So one of the things I like to do is hook a garden hose up most of the time to the discharge, the water line for the wash machine, and go directly into the pipe, and really put some volume in there. And that allows me to really create a torrent of water, if you will, to get things that head down the pipe and get to the main.
Now, that's something that you wouldn't recommend people do that at home.
No, that's something you want a professional to do.
Okay.
I
don't want a bunch of people going out.
No, I don't want you to go get your garden. Yeah, don't do that. There's some rules and some experience.
Now I have a project for my husband.
Wally, no, I do not want you to do that with the garden hose, my friend. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we got it on tape, so
that's true.
We'll make sure you won't do that. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. All right, so tell me, now you had mentioned a time or two before that we've talked about the flushable wipes.
Oh, that's a bad one. Flushable wipe, and it's a marketing thing. It's very successful. I mean, let's be honest. If you've ever used them, they are more comfortable.
Right.
They seem to do a better. They're refreshing. You do a better job, right? Unfortunately, what happens, and it goes back to how we use these systems. So you flush the flushable wipe down the toilet. It'll travel a length of pipe, but probably not all the way to the sewer main. It'll go and it'll sit. Now what happens with these wipes is then they get saturated and get heavy. And they will literally set in these pipes and just accumulate over time, and pretty soon you have an obstruction. So it's not something I recommend putting into the system. I've pulled many of them out with my cable equipment. You can't, unlike roots, you really can't cut them. My cutting equipment will not cut through them. They're really tough. They're strong. And so what happens is, for lack of a better image, I create a giant Q-tip on the end of my cutting head, and then I have to extract them out of the system, clean my equipment off, and go back into it and finish the job.
To get it all cleaned
So
out.
it's okay to use them. Just put them in the trash can.
Yeah, right. Well, it makes sense.
But again, they're marketed as flushable, so I understand why people do it.
Yeah.
And in some of the older systems too, you have to be very careful. Newer systems are going to be PVC plastic, right? Older systems may have cast iron into clay, right? Okay. And those older systems, especially like the cast iron, they get kind of jaggedy on the inside. So as you flush a wipe, it'll grab and hold on to it.
Okay.
And sometimes it's really a little bit of a challenge to get it to let go and travel down to the sewer main.
Wow. All right. So light bulbs, don't flush those.
No light bulbs.
No matchbox.
No matchbox cars. Golf balls. Try to keep that all out of the commode.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll make a note of that.
All right. That's good.
We'll just make a list.
Make a list of things. Don't do
not
that.
To flush. Don't let your kids put these in the commode.
That's very true.
All right. So, what tips would you give to homeowners in general for how to properly maintain your sewer lateral?
That's a great question. So let's start with the most popular one. Probably is a garbage disposal.
Okay.
Many times, your kitchen sink runs on a separate stack. Okay.
So that means it has its own
pipe,
drain.
its own drain, right?
All right.
And running the garbage disposal is great, but generally we don't run it long enough, and we don't run enough water behind it. If you think about a kitchen sink, it will have that aerator on there that kind of makes the water slow down and puts air in it.
Right.
I'm talking about the little thing that if it gets clogged, you immediately know you got to take it off and kind of clean it out a little bit.
Right.
So most kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks are aerated, so they don't put a large volume of water in there. So now you're putting food and other things into the pipe in small particles, and the same principle applies. Not enough water goes and creates an obstruction, and over time it just accumulates. Pretty soon your kitchen sink isn't draining properly. Along with the garbage disposal, no grease, no oil. My wife was actually putting lemon peels in the garbage disposal because somewhere on Pinterest they said it would make it smell better. No.
Okay, so that's another good thing. So no lemon peels.
No lemon peels.
I heard potato skins are bad, and eggshells?
Eggshells are bad. Actually, eggshells will not disintegrate.
Really?
And they have a hard time traveling down the pipe. And again, if it's an older system, cast iron into clay.
Yeah.
They can travel, get caught on kind of that jaggedy cast iron.
Yeah.
They're going to be there for a while. You'd be amazed. They'll be there for like a flushable wipe. I can tell you in some cases they've been there for months.
Wow.
Literally months.
Wow. Okay. And coffee grinds are bad too.
Coffee grinds are bad as well because, again, it'll go and it'll accumulate in areas of the pipe. The older pipes in particular, the clay pipes, and there's still a lot of them in our area.
Now, those used to be like made with tile, right?
Well, it's a round clay. It's 6 inches in diameter.
Right.
And the construct is something we call bell and spigot. They come in 4-foot and 2-foot sections, and the bell and the spigot part sits into it just like that.
Right.
What happens with these systems is they're not a perfect mechanical connection, and they will offset underneath the ground. So sometimes the bell component all of a sudden is really exposed at the bottom of the pipe. So here we come with coffee grounds or egg shells. They hit that bottom edge and they accumulate.
Right.
So that's what can get you in trouble.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And those would be more in areas like South St. Louis.
The city. I see them in the city, but you'd be surprised. It depends on the age of the neighborhood. They started putting PVC into the systems early to mid 80s. So if your home is even in the early to mid 80s, you might still have some of the old cast iron and still have it. Just, I always tell folks it depends on what the plumber had on the trailer that day.
Right.
Right?
That's it.
There's no guarantees.
Very cool. So tell me, is there anything else that we need to know about sewer-oscopy?
A couple pointers I'll give you is your yard vents and your yard traps. Okay? There's really 4 ways into these systems. You can go in through the standard main stack, which usually has a cap on it, okay? But you can also go in through the roof.
Oh.
All of our plumbing systems are vented through the roof. The other ways to get into the system are vents and yard traps that they put in the yard between the home and the sewer main. It's always a good idea to make sure that stays accessible and covered and tightly sealed.
Right. Yeah. Cover it up.
Cover it up with something.
Cover it, like put a fake tree over it or something.
Something. Just make sure it stays covered and where you know where it's at.
Yeah.
Because they get lost. People landscape over them, do things with them. It's like, okay, I'm seeing a yard trap in my camera. Where is it located?
Right.
And I do have the ability to locate it.
Yeah.
My camera has a transmitter on it.
Oh, cool.
So I have a sensor that I can walk around the yard and I can locate the position of my camera underground.
It's like a detector.
Above ground. Exactly it. Yeah. And I use that frequently. It's a good tool to have.
Yeah. Nice. So you got all the right equipment.
Yes.
You got all the right skills.
Yes.
All the knowledge.
Yes.
You're the expert.
Try to be. Try to be. So I think it's important. I've seen enough of them now that, and when I go to open a pipe and, do a clean out, I try to troubleshoot it intelligently.
I am completely educated now.
That's what I intend to do.
On the proper way to perform a sewer-oscopy.
Okay. All right. Well, we have openings.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll send my resume in the mail.
Very good.
Not sure my past jobs are exactly what you're looking for, but
I understand.
That's awesome. Chris, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
into
Alana.
the
It was a
studio
pleasure
today.
to share some information with you. I look forward to talking to you, and I hope to do it again at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
With Chris Schad with Sewer-Oscopy, my name is Alana Treppler. Ta-ta for now, everybody.
Think sewer-oscopy stuff.